2.
Hello, 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 my lovelies. Welcome back to another edition of the Occult series. Today we're going to be talking about Carl Jung and his theory on the shadow self. Before I get into it, I want to remind everybody all donations are appreciated. If you go to my community tab, you'll now see that we have a raffle going on. It's $1 per ticket. You buy as many tickets as you want. You can send the money to my Cash App or my PayPal. I have it listed in my community tab. And you will get a keychain made by us, made by my nephew Kipper, of handmade resin. You can see a picture of them. The keychain will be chosen at random. So if you would like to participate in the raffle, like I said, it's $1 a ticket. Buy as many tickets as you want. What this is doing is this is helping us to cover the expense of StreamYard Premium so we don't run out of time and hours being able to go live and record. Now, back to Carl Jung. Jung was born July the 26th of 1875, and he passed away June the 6th of 1961. He was a Swiss psychiatrist and a psychoanalyst who founded analytical psychology. Jung's work has been influential in the fields of psychiatry, anthropology, archaeology, literature, philosophy, psychology, and the religious studies. Jung worked as a research scientist at a psychiatric hospital in Zurich. Jung established himself as an influential mind of his time, developing a friendship with Sigmund Freud, founder of psychoanalysis, conducting a lengthy correspondence, still paramount to their joint vision of human psychology. He is highly regarded as one of the most influential psychologists of all times. Freud saw younger Jung as the heir he had been seeking to take forward to his new science of psychoanalysis. Jung's research and personal vision, however, made it difficult for him to follow his older colleague's doctrine, and they parted ways eventually. Jung considered individuation to be the main task of human development. He created some of the best-known psychological concepts, including synchronicity, the collective unconsciousness, the psychological complex, and extroversion and introversion. Jung was also an artist, craftsman, builder, and a prolific writer. Many of his works were not published until after his death, and some are still awaiting publication. Some of his 13 key concepts include anima and animus, archetype, archetypal images, the collective unconscious, complex, extroversion and introversion, individuation, interpersonal relationship, the persona, psychological types, shadow, self, and synchronicity. In analytical psychology, the shadow is an unconscious aspect of the personality that does not correspond with the ego ideal, leading the ego to resist and project the shadow. The shadow is the self's emotional blind spot. Shadow work is practiced through active imagination with daydreaming and meditation. The eventual encounter with the shadow plays a central part in the process of individuation. If the breakdown of the persona constitutes the typical Jungian movement, both in theory and in development, it is this that opens the road to the shadow within, coming about when beneath the surface a person is suffering from a deadly boredom that makes everything seem meaningless and empty, as if the initial encounter with the self cast a dark shadow ahead of time. The shadow personifies everything that the subject refuses to acknowledge about himself and represents a tight passage, a narrow door, whose painful constriction no one is spared, who goes down to the deep well. The dissolution of the persona and the launch of the individuation process also brings with it the danger of falling victim to the shadow. The black shadow, which eventually carries with him the inferior and therefore hidden aspect of the personality, resulting in a merger with the shadow. According to Jung, the shadow sometimes overwhelms a person's actions. As the process continues and the libido leaves the bright upper world and sinks back into its own depths below in the shadows of the unconsciousness, so to what comes to the forefront is what was hidden under the mask of conventional adaptation, the shadow, with the result that ego and shadow are no longer divided, but are brought together and in an admittedly precarious unity. Jung remained of the opinion that while no one should deny the danger of descent, every descent is followed by an ascent, and assimilation of, rather possession by, the shadow becomes a possibility. We began to travel up through the healing spirals. Straight up here, the struggle is to retain awareness of the shadow, but not identification with it. The shadow self, if you have paid attention or if you care to do your research on the shadow self can end up, after merging, become the anima and animagus of oneself, which leads also back to individuation of self. Like I said, he came up with at least 13 concepts. He is very well known. There is still a big following, a cult following to this day of his works, just like there is Sigmund Freud. Like I said, they end up parting ways. They were really good friends. Freud was very older than Jung. However, they did have a lot of in common on the way they thought and the way their thought process was. So I'm sorry this live is a little short, but I wanted just to give you a little bit of Carl Jung and how you can understand the shadow better and maybe do some shadow work of your own. A lot of us pagans do shadow work. A lot of us do practice shadow work. So it is a thing, it is a term. Whether you believe in it or not, that's up to you. And I do want to apologize ahead of time if there's any background noise, any music, any cars going by. If you can hear my puppy whining, she's ready to go outside, you guys. So I'm going to make this quick. Thank you for listening. I do have a raffle going on. Like I said, check out my community tab for the rules. Until later, everybody, love and peace. See you later.